What's good, everybody? Today I thought I'd bring to you an Atlantean MERMAIL deck profile, a deck very near and dear to my heart. Ever since the release 10 or 12 years ago, whatever that math is, they got a lot of new support, and it truly blew the deck wide open. A lot of people said it wouldn't be good, but it's sneaking some wins and some tops here and there, and that's really cool to see after this whole time. Typically, I don't do deck profiles like this where it's like one card at a time or engine at a time or whatever, but I don't have a lot of time to do that. I do prefer to lay it out and then talk about it as we go. But what I'm going to do first is put out the cards, and then later I will explain how they all work together. But let's get into it. First, we have the 3 prints and the 1-for-1. This is your 4th prints, clearly, and then this is truly now a 1-card starter. And what this does is you can send 1 Atlantean to the graveyard for cost from the deck, and add an Atlantean to your hand from the deck, and whatever you send off of it will trigger. It also has another effect that if it's sent to activate a water monster effect, it special summons an Atlantean out of the graveyard except itself, and it also cannot search itself. This is really good. It's arguably the best normal summon in like water cards, period. We don't need Deep Sea Diva anymore because the new support just does so much. But there's that, and then you have probably the best Atlantean in the entire deck as far as utility. Like, you can just keep searching Sea Serpents off of this, and then it has another continuous effect on the field where if you have little Atlanteans, they can hit directly, but who really cares? You just want to proc a million searches off of this as much as you can. It's really good. I feel like in a while, if MERMAIL keeps doing good, it'll probably get hit again. But that's neither here nor there. Now, this is Abyss Rhine. A lot of people in their deck profiles keep calling this Abyss Shrine. It is not Shrine, it is Rhine. But anyway, my nitpicking aside, this card is fantastic. Originally, I thought this was only going to be a one-of because you search it in combo and stuff like that. But if you open it, you don't have to do a lot of digging for it, and it helps you play through Droll and Shifter to some degree. What this does is you tribute itself and another MERMAIL or Atlantean, and then it either adds or special summons a level 7 Sea Serpent, Aqua, or Fish from your deck to your hand. We'll get into the targets for that later. But this also triggers whatever you tribute with it, assuming that it's like an Atlantean or it needs to go to the graveyard or something like that. It's really good. Searchable off the pack. Amazing. A lot of people are only on 1 infantry, and maybe my opinion will change later because I don't feel like there are absolutes in this game. But I love this at 2. It's another Sea Serpent that you can search if you don't necessarily have another target. Maybe you've already ran through your Minstrels or something like that, or you don't want to grab a Dead Mooling Glacier or something. But this is spot removal, and then it's for a face-up card on your opponent's field, I believe. It might be a monster, but I believe it's a face-up card. It also grants you an extra normal summon of a Sea Serpent. So, you don't typically do that, but it does come up once in a while. It's really good. I probably wouldn't change that, at least right now. Anyway, 3 Tias, it's the best big MERMAIL. You discard a water monster to activate its effect, and then it searches you for any MERMAIL. That's really all there is to it. He is just a really good starter. You can also do some weird shit with it if you open Shadow Squad, which we'll get to momentarily. We also have the 3 Pike. I am on Coelacanth Spoils, and I think running 1 and 2 of this, at least for the moment, like I said, I don't believe in absolutes, but for the moment, this is a 3 of. 1 and 2 it doesn't seem that good to me, and we'll get into other fish monsters for Coelacanth, but I like 3 of this, and I think there's another one in here, but 3, what it does is you discard a water monster and you grab a level 3 water monster out of your deck, and that's really good. What that does is typically you summon it off of this guy and then discard Dragoons that you got from the prince. I'll get to that. This guy is so good. One of the newer cards, MERMAIL Shadow Squad. If it's discarded or sent to the graveyard, rather, to activate a water monster effect, it will special summon any level 4 or lower, I believe, water monster or MERMAIL Atlantean monster from your deck to the field, and that's really good. And then it also has another effect where you can discard any card. All water monsters currently on your side of the field at resolution become level 7s, and that's really part of the important part of the combo too. This is really great. This is also a 3 of. A lot of people play this at 2, but you want to see it. If you don't have to compromise Neptibus, this is what you want. With Tias and that. The 1 of Megalo, shout out to my buddy Aaron and my buddy Sarah. They run TriStar Hobby in Portland, Tennessee. If you're ever up there, go to that local. They gifted me this over 10 years ago, so that's very near and dear. And then the 1 gun, I don't play the Xyz armor stuff. I think that it's just I mean, I know you can discard the little shark guy for costs and whatever, but it doesn't do anything. But these are the 1 ofs. OSHA, I have a love-hate relationship with this. It does board you a 4 and a 3 if you have a 7 that you can't use for something else. I like it, but we'll see if it continues to stick. And then for the last MERMAIL card, we have the Premature Burial and the Dollar Store Pot of Avarice. It can put 3 waters back, but you don't get to draw a card. And then the Neptibus Link can grab this, and then you can reborn an Atlantean or a MERMAIL. It's actually really good, considering the other equips they're alright. But, I don't know. A lot of people have Mizuchi in here too, but I don't feel like it's necessary. We come down to non-MERMAIL, non-Atlanteans. We have 2 Ash Jade Azurine. 1 felt bad. 2 feels like it's too much, but we'll get into why this is. But I like 2 in here because I run Small World, and this can be like the 1 to the bridge to the result. You know what I'm trying to say? It's utilitous in this way, and then you still would have 1 to grab off of Abyss Rhine if you need 1. It's the next best 7. You know what I mean? Water 7. The bridge that we're using for Small World is Area. Now, this serves double purpose. Not only is it a bridge for Small World because it doesn't match anything. The only thing it has in common with anything in here is that it's a water. So you can use any other water, bridge this, and then you can grab any other water. I don't think anything else in this deck is 5 stars or 1850 or 15 or a spellcaster. So this is pretty good, and you know, you can discard things to get started. It triggers whatever you discard, and it's pretty good. And then if you're going into game 2 or 3 and you're going second, being made to go second, you can bridge into like Gameciel, whatever. It's really good. And then I got some other side deck options that this could probably get you into, but we'll get into that. 2 Minstrel. I'd probably play a 3rd if I had the space, but I don't really want to go above 40. This card is really good. You can rip a threat out of your opponent's hand. If you see it first, or it's before 5 summons, you can snipe the Nib, or you see that they have an Ash Blossom or an Imperm or something of the sort, you have this to rip it out of their hand. Or inversely, if you're about to use Moulin Glacier, you can rip the bad card out of your opponent's hand, assuming that they have like 3 or less. You rip the bad card out of your opponent's hand, and then you Moulin Glacier away the 2 good ones, if that makes any sense. So this has its purpose. And then in the extra deck, when you do some of the lines to start finishing the board, this is a tuner that comes up, and instead of making La Virtue or whatever, you can make the Croc to draw 2 cards, or in the case that you're running Trishula, you can loop another card out of their hand, or whatever. Really good. Really, really good. And then we have the Moulin Glacier, the Coelacanth, and then the last target for Coelacanth, which is the Harpooner. I also really like this because it is a tuner. That's really all this one is for. It's a fish, and it's a level 4, so you're making Toad off of this, or maybe you're finding a way to make a Synchro. Moon Glacier is self-explanatory. For those of you not in the know about it, you have 5 waters in your grave. You can special summon it from your hand for free, and then you can pick 2 cards or 2 random cards in your opponent's hand and discard them. They go to the graveyard. Cards that rip other cards from anybody's hand in this game are unfair and should not be a thing, but we got it, so we should do it. Also, when it leaves the field, you have to skip your next turn's battle phase. really good card. And in combo, you turn this into a level 7, and you don't really care about the effect that skips your battle phase, because being detached as an Xyz material or going to the graveyard as an Xyz material, you don't leave the field doing that, or it don't leave the field doing that. And then Coelacanth is your one way to play through Droll and Shifter. It's not as ideal as you might want it to be, but at least you will get like one Toad out of it, and maybe two, depending on what your board is, and then assuming what else you're going to do with whatever else that you have left. It ain't bad. And what it does is you discard a card. I believe it's just a card and not a water card, but if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. You discard a card, you special summon as many fish from your deck as possible, and remember, we're playing 3 Pike and the 1 Harpooner here, so we have 4, just in case we open weird or we have weird, whatever. Typically, you will have 2 Pike and then this thing, for me anyway, or you will have this and a Pike. So it ain't bad. It also has this effect where if it's messed with or something like that, you contribute a fish to negate it, whatever. It's a level 7 water, so it goes really well in here. All in all, with the monster lineup, I'm pretty good with it. We may do something with that OSHA. I don't know, but we'll get into the this 1 engine requirement. This is for the Virtue. Everyone's on this. I have mixed feelings about this too, mostly positive though. It's really cool. Anytime I've had it though, I've had it in game 1 for sure, because you never know who wins the die roll. Game 2, you side this out with Moon Glacier and whatever else. Typically, I would go OSHA and bring in like a board breaker or something like that. This is all right. I like it, but I don't know if it'll stick. I think that there may be better than La Virtue and the Trap, but that's to be seen, because as powerful as a lot of the water stuff we have is, there's not a lot of options, so you just play with what you can. I don't really care about the Xyz armor plays or anything like that, but it's really good next to like a dead Bahamut Shark or something like that. You've already used it to spawn a Toad and it has material left, and it's cool. It's got a lot of utility and I like it, but we'll see. And then for non-engine, we have 3 Small World, like I was telling you before. We get this and then we bridge into area and we got whatever we want. It's a pseudo starter in my book. And then if you just so happen to have Ching Ying on the board, the Water Sword Soul level 10 Synchro, this will trigger it, and then not only do you get a card that you may need or an engine piece that you may need, you end up getting removal. So this is really cool. And then to finish off non-engine, we have 2 talent, because make no mistake about it, you will get drolled, you will get nibbed, and you will get shifted and all these kinds of things. So you want to have ways. And then if you have this, and let's say they've Ash Blossomed something that you've done, or they've I don't know, drolled you and you were able to rip a couple of cards from hand, you can just keep doing that with this. You can put a motherfucker back in there, and I think this complements the deck really well. I had it at 3, but I kept seeing it too often, and I think 2 was correct, at least for right now. Like I said, I don't want to deal in absolutes. I really like this. It may change, but that's to be seen. Let's move to the extra deck now. For the extra deck, I have 3 synchros. I have the Croc, the Azurine, and the Ching Ying. And the thing that I like about the Croc is, if you're going turn 1 and you've already opened the Virtue Trap, this will let you draw 2 more cards, and it's really good. And then if you decide to leave it on the board and it sticks, you can discard any 2 cards to blow up something. And if you're discarding Atlanteans or something like Abyss Gund, it will proc those as well. So maybe you're doing more than just using its removal effect. Like, for example, if you have a Dragoons and a Gund or something like that, you're going to blow up their guy, and then you're going to search off the Dragoons, and then you're going to reborn off of the Gund. You see what I'm saying? This card is pretty utilitous. I like it a lot. Azurine, I don't feel like it needs an explanation. It is one of the best water synchros in the game, in my opinion. Arguably one of the best in the extra deck. One of the best cards, rather, in the extra deck. It can chain to whatever your opponent activates, and it banishes it. And then if it's in the graveyard, when you banish, it protects your monsters. It provides them with protection. And then if it's in the graveyard and a card gets banished, you can special summon it back. And then I think these 2 kind of work well together if you can board them together. Clearly everyone knows, or should know, what this does by now, since Sword Soul is a couple of years old. When you make this, all monsters on your board gain 100 for every banished card, and all monsters on your opponent's board lose 100. So automatically, It's a buff, and then when cards are banished, he will banish a card on your opponent's board, and he will banish a card in your opponent's graveyard. And I don't believe this targets. But this is really good, and I'll get into that in a minute after we get through the rest of the extra deck, or after all the profile. This, I like it a lot. There's a lot of cool interactions you can do with it. Then we get into the links. I have a Bubble Reef. We'll get to that. Zealantis for the OTK, and then we have the Prince. I mean, man, he's a king now. And then we have Anemone and the Abyssalacia. This lets you draw a card in the standby phases by banishing a water monster. And what I was talking about before is it's very, very synergistic with that. In the draw phase, assuming that your opponent has cards on the field or something, maybe you're doing this turn whatever, and your opponent has built a little bit, you can do this on their standby phase. You draw a card, and then because you banished, you get to remove some stuff. It's pretty good. This is pretty good for the OTK. It's the Marincess line that deck uses. You board this, and you're going to board this in combo to do some level, or yeah, some rank 7 shit, and you're going to be waterlocked. And if you need to on your turn 2 or whatever turn it is that you can attack, you end up making this thing. And because you can only special summon water monsters, and you are special summoning because of this, you can banish anything on your opponent's board that's not water, and it won't come back. So it's an OTK. It's really good. And then this is pretty good. I think that if it's destroyed or something like that, you get to add a Mermail or Atlantean card to your hand. But the more important things that we're doing with this is we're searching that equip spell, because it's an extender and it's a reborn, and then whatever it points to has protection. I think it's targeting protection. We get into this. It locks you into waters, but who cares, because everything's water. So really, functionally, effectively, it is just a generic extender. This gives you back any water monster with 1,500 attack points or less, and you have to summon it to where it goes, to where it points. Or so if you get like ogred or it's removed somehow, it will resolve with that effect because there's no arrow to check it resolution. This here is pretty good now. You typically, when the board is built and you open correctly and you navigate it correctly, you end it like this. And Toads, it doesn't have to necessarily be like that, but she does a lot. On your opponent's turn, you can discard a water monster, I think, or you have to discard something. It might be just generic, or it might be water. I'd have to read it again. Anyway, it grabs you a Mermail on your opponent's turn, and then when it's destroyed, you can send a water monster from your deck to grave, and then you can special summon a water monster. So it's a little bit of recursion. It's pretty good. I think this is great. I think that there was a lot of times where I wanted 2 of this, but my issue is the extra deck space is so tight now, whereas before we had to play like water good stuff, and you can kind of just do whatever you wanted. 2 of this would be pretty good. I'm happy with it though. I really like those and what they do. We get into the Xyz. Let me sort these real quick. We have the 2 Bahamuts. Shout out to my boy Dakota. He gifted me one of these, and then I obtained the other one, so it had a brother or a sister or whatever. Clearly this is just a shotgun Toad out of the extra deck. And then you have some LaVirtue interaction. It's pretty good. And then we have the aforementioned Toad. If you're not familiar with Toad, it negates, and then if it is able to be set, like for example, if you can negate a graveyard or a banish effect or something like that, you can't set it. But if this negates something and destroys it, you can set it, and then when this goes to the graveyard, you add a water monster back to your hand. It's really good. And then we have the Poseidra and the Gaios. Typically this doesn't stick. If you're in a situation where you only have 2 7s, you make this, and then you make this, and then typically you're linking off the Anemone or whatever link to you're using, or really whatever you're doing. You link this off, and then you discard, and then you special summon 3 level 3 or lower water monsters out of your graveyard. It's really good. It sets up LaVirtue, which is next, and then you can get into the level 9 synchro plays or keep link laddering. It's so good. I really like this. It does a lot. Sometimes I find myself wanting 2 of it, but again, extra deck space is so tight. And then we have the LaVirtue Dragon. You search the Water Icarus attack, the Poseidon attack, if you will. Lol. And then you can detach a material from any Xyz on the board and grab a guy or something like that, and then I don't think that second bullet effect matters. A lot of people will make the Xyz armor rank 5 guy over this, grab the shark, and then that's 5 for Mooling Glacia, but I think that's too bricky and it takes up too much space, but I understand why people do it. I'm happy with this. Like I said, I might want to bump this up later in the future. No absolutes here, but I really like this. This may be the era, the next year or so, may be the era where this gets limited or banned. But that's yet to be seen, and if you got them, play them. Let's get to the side deck. Like I said earlier, we can bridge into this using Small World and Area. And obviously this is spot removal. This came up really well against Ubel. They ended on Desiree and the Phantom and whatever, and I was able to get the Desiree out of the way to just go off, because the Phantom is just a one-off thing, but that Desiree can just negate a bunch of shit, and it made it really hard. We have 2 Dogwood here. I thought about bringing this down to 1 and making one of these a Marksman. What Marksman does is if it's sent to the graveyard to activate a water monster effect, it pops a set card. It has this other effect where if it's on the field and it attacks directly and deals damage, you can special summon an Atlantean from the deck. That, this day and age, probably won't come up, rarely if at all. But that seems cool when you have Book of Eclipse, which I'll get to in a minute. This, you discard it. If you don't gain life points from it, you lose half of your life points, but otherwise you gain a shit ton of points. For every monster they special summon, you gain its attack, its printed attack stats to your life points. It's pretty good, and since it's a level 3 water, you can search this in combo if you need it. For example, if you get hand trapped and you don't have a lot of gas left, you just grab this, and then on your opponent's turn, right when they're about to special summon, you just shotgun it to it, and it's pretty good. And then there was a couple of times lately where I was playing the basically just water pile, and I would shotgun this in the standby phase, and they would just pass, and because they didn't want me to gain anything, and they would just get beat. And then we have the barrier statue. It's the same principle as Gameciel being Small World through Area. You can just grab this, and then if you send it for cost for something, Azurine, Tias, something like that, Anemone can bring this back because it's 1,000 and the threshold is 1,500 or less. So that's really good. And then we get into board breakers. We have the 3 Dark Ruler no more, because if you're standing up against a bunch of negates, I don't know what to tell you. This has been pretty good because you blank the front row and then you can go off. So what they'll need after that is hand traps, a lot of non-engine, or they'll need back row, which I think the only back row now are the Dominus traps and imperms, if nothing else. Those are at least the most popular. And then we have 2 lightning storms. Typically nothing sticks as far as back row goes. Your board can be broken, and if you just see this on the follow-up, or you open it and you get hand trapped and you survive, this is pretty good. I wanted to play Feather Duster too, but like, I don't know. I need it to do more than it does. As weird as that sounds, in 2024, a back row wipe doesn't do a whole lot, unless it's like Lab or some shit. And then we have 2 Eclipse. This is what I was saying about Marksman. Everyone knows what this does. You flip down all face-up monsters on the field that can be flipped down, face-down defense position. And your opponent, at the end phase, your opponent draws cards equal to the number they flip back up when this resolves. Marksman would be pretty good synergy with this, in my opinion. You flip down their bosses, and you destroy it, and maybe they get a net +1 off of it or something like that, but that's one less thing on the board you have to deal with, and it's one less draw they get if you don't successfully break the entire board. You know what I'm saying? And then for the last 3, we have the Imperm. This assists with board breakers. I wouldn't necessarily call it one. It assists with board breakers. Now, what you've probably noticed here is I don't have the Mulcharmies or the Dominus Impulses. It's a little bit out of my budget right now, but when I get them, they will definitely go in here and we'll figure out how and why. These could absolutely be Goes and Match and Anti-Spell Fragrance, and then just whatever flex, probably a 3rd Eclipse if you needed it, but a lot of this deck was catered to play at my locals. You keep that in mind. A lot of this is location based. We got a lot of mixed skill levels there, so we just build accordingly and play accordingly. I really like this list. I would take it again. I probably will this upcoming week, to be honest. Let me show you the basic start, and then I'll get into some of these tech cards I got set aside. Now, what you're wanting to do is you normal summon Prince, and then you send a squad. You send squad, and then this will resolve. This is assuming you don't get hand trapped, so don't get nitpicky. You'll add this, and then when this triggers on the next chain, you will get a Pike. Pike will discard. So you'll get this and then this. So typically, if you don't, this is assuming you don't already have these things either. Pike will grab Abyss Rhine, and then here it varies what you grab. Typically, people grab Moulin Glacier here, which is what we're going to do. And also realize that we only grabbed the Prince out of here. You're going to have 4 more cards in hand. What you're going to do here is activate this, Tribute itself, and the Neptibus. This is going to grab you a level 7 fish, sea serpent, or water. Now, the options that you have here are clearly you have Abyss Teus, you have Abyss Megalo, you have Ice Jade, and then we have Coelacanth. Now, if you're under some crazy hand traps, this is probably the way to go. You discard a card, and then you summon a bunch of fish. It's pretty good. This gives you the, if you need it, this gives you the Synchro 10s, sorry. This gives you the Synchro 10s, and then, like I said, you're going to have other cards in hand, so these are just special summons. It's whatever. Teus is probably the more optimal thing to do if you're not playing under a Lingering Effect or a Floodgate. Like I said, you'll have other cards in hand, so you'll go Teus, and then whatever water card, you'll send it. That's your 5 special. And then I don't really think it matters from here, but like probably the best target here is to grab Gundy. Now you have your 5. You rip for 2. Oh, I messed up. We have to resolve the Prince first, and we'll get this out. So there's 4 here, and I'll get to what I'll get to where I was, and then speed this up. Now, what I like to do here is make the shark in the extra monster zone. So you make shark here, and then you detach. There's your 5. And then you get your toad. Okay, you are right here. You are Nibiru proof, because this is summon 5. Now we get into that. We discard for Teus. Then when we discard for Teus, that will be number 5. And then you drop Moulin Glacier, who I call Slug. So you've knocked 2 out of their hand. You have a negate, all this kind of stuff. Now what you're going to do here is, like I said, you'll have more in your hand, but you can link these off. That is not even yesterday. You link these off for the Anemone. You go Anemone here. You're going to activate it. You go Squad. A Squad effect to discard. Now these will become level 7s, and on a new chain you get the res from this. And then, like, you have a plethora of Mermail here. There's ways to make another Toad. Like I said, you'll have other cards in hand. So you're going to make this. These are 7s. So you make these, and I keep grabbing that. It's not the extra deck. You make those, and because you don't have 3 7s naturally, you Giles, you Poseidra, and then you're going to link these. When you link these, you're going to go into the Neptibus King guy. Now, protection from targeted effects here. What you're going to do here is you're going to discard a card, and Poseidra is going to give you 3 3s. So you get that, you get it. It don't really matter, and if you have the tuner, that's even better. You get the 3 level 3s, and then because you discarded to activate the Poseidra XEs, you get to grab the equip spell out of here, if I can find it. You grab Triana. Now, from here, you have options. You can synchro into the Croc and draw 2 cards, or you can link. You definitely, if you're going first, I feel like it's definitely more optimal, unless you've been hand trapped into the ground, to make the virtue. So we make virtue. I don't like to put it here because I want my more proactive cards. You go virtue, and then on summon is going to grab you the trap. Fantastic. And then if there's another Xyz monster on the board, you can detach material to do to get a monster back from your graveyard, a water sea serpent or whatever from your graveyard. That's cool and everything, but we'll get to that. We go Triana here, and then we grab a Dragoons, and then we make Bahamut, another one down here, another one. We detach. We get another Toad, and then we get another Sea Serpent. I don't really think that it matters. Right here you have, I think, 2 or 3 other cards in hand, and then you have these 2 that you searched. What I like to do here is link these. Really what you could do if you really wanted to is the virtue can detach. We'll just do it this way. The virtue will detach and then give you back a guy, and we love free searches. And then we link these off, and then we have Abyssalacia here, and because you probably will have another water monster in your hand, you're gonna go Megalo. You'll discard this, and then just whatever else. Megalo will summon. You don't really proc anything off of it except for the Dragoons, but at the end of this Dragoons here, you're gonna grab an infantry. Now, this board may not look super impressive, but you've ripped 2 out of their hand. You've got 2 Toads for 2 Omnis. So, if you're thinking about it, they're starting with 4 cards in hand. You've got 2 negates for half of it, and then this and this can deal with other things, and then maybe they've got to play through this. So you've got an answer for just about everything that they're gonna throw at you, right? And then there has to be something that can be done with this, but I'll get there. We'll figure that out. Like I said, no absolutes. We'll get there. Because this targeted this thing, you can grab back your equipped spell. There's a lot going on in this, and it's so very good. And you did all of this off of 1 card and a couple of discards. I think it's really good. Let me know what you think about this video, if you enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, I know I fucked up a lot and had to rewind and that kind of stuff, but forgive me. It just be like that sometimes. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Don't be late.